Thank you, Madam Irene, for the good words. But I would like to help me to get out of this. I'm 21 years old, and I have 4 men who are all trying to prove to me that they are serious. And whenever I go deeper in the spiritual world, I feel like I should leave them and wait patiently upon the Lord for the right time. But I look for where to begin telling any of them that I don't want them, and I don't get the approach because they don't ask me for sex even. Kindly tell me how to do it. And I leave them peacefully because I feel like I want them out of my life and stabilize spiritually. It's the biggest problem I have now. Oh. I'm reading another one together with that. Is it right and spiritual to get married to a man of the same clan? There is a story told of a driver, a scientist. Keep the attention. This scientist used to go around presenting powerful lectures, and the driver would always sit in these lectures. And so one day the scientist was exhausted and told the driver said, but I can give the lecture. I've heard you say it several times. And the scientist said, okay, go ahead and present. The driver presented so well. She presented, they cheered him. Then they finally asked a question which he couldn't answer. So he looked at it. Then he said, this is a very simple question. Even my driver over there can answer it. And pointed to the scientist, the expert. So these 2 last ones are very simple questions. My driver over there will answer them. Over to you, Mrs. Magara.
Irene.
Marrying a man of the same clan and the 4 men, but they don't ask for sex. How does she get out of it? Because she feels she has to, but she wants to do it peacefully.
Okay, I will address that together with, I've grown up with a belief that the years of 20 to 29 years are ages for looking for money and building myself financially as a lady. And the years of 30 to 32 are for marriage unto death, does me and my future family apart. My question is, should I keep this idea of thought about life or not? I'm not a student. I graduated a year back. That's why my question is strange. The other one is, what's the right time to get married? The other is, I have a brother I really like. He's everything I need. I have never had a boyfriend in my entire life. I really love him, but I don't want to force things. I want things to flow naturally. According to the will of God, what should I do? He's my friend, but not very close. They all are about decisions when it comes to marriage, okay? So how do you make a decision for marriage? Or when do you make a decision for marriage? I want to refer again to Irene's book, Destined, where she says, your life has purpose, okay? God does not go onto a photocopying machine and photocopies all of us and our time frames out. My time frame is probably very, very different to somebody else's. So while I got married immediately after campus, Irene got married much later. Does that make me any better than her? No. My purpose in life is very different from hers. The things God has worked through Irene, I look at in total awe and wonder. Okay? So our lives have purpose, our lives have callings. When you get married is determined by this God in heaven and your walk with him. You will know in your heart of hearts that I'm ready to get married. You will know. There are certain benchmarks, though, that I would advise against. Generally, the specifics you have to seek out with God. Generally, I would not say that you get married when you're still in school. Why? The practicalities of marriage will not allow you to focus on your studies. Okay? I hear a baby crying. Marriage comes with babies many times. Tell me how you're going to carry through a pregnancy and sit up through the night and at the same time sit to study and focus on your studies. It's hard. It's hard work. So that's just a general statement. Specifics, you can't study when you're married. I'm actually studying right now, and I'm married, and I have a family to take care of, okay? But I'm saying the general framework. The second one is, what's the values that you're looking for in the guy that you're getting married to? The 4 that have lined up before you. Are you ready to make a decision? And remember, marriage is it's a covenant. It's a covenant for life. You're committing yourself for life. The person you marry is probably, that decision is probably the second most important decision after your choice to walk with Christ. Because they determine everything about you. They determine where you go. They determine what you do. They determine how your life unfolds. Why? It is a covenant. Before God, you're one. There's a bishop friend of mine, of ours, who says, his demons become your demons. His blessings become your blessings, and vice versa. All that you are, whether they are good or bad, becomes his. Okay? You become one. Before God, when he sees me and my husband as one person. So that choice should not be taken very casually. Inky, pinky, ponky, father's a donkey, donkey died, you're out. Inky, pinky, ponky. No, people. That's not how they choose husbands, okay? So when the 4 line up before you, first step back and say, Father God, is any of your sons among here for me? Am I ready to even make that decision? Because first of all, if you're in first year, you're going to wait maybe 3 years to finish before you can even start the process of getting married. Is he ready to wait for you? Is he ready to wait for you? The challenge of these days, though, is that things, money, the choices I'm hearing, young people, is, what phone does he have? Is he driving a car? Is he taking me out to these eating places, and are we sharing the bill, or is he going to take the bill? Okay? Those can never, ever, people, throw those out, because you're going to make the choice based on wrong standards, wrong values. Okay? Let me tell you, when I started walking with my husband now, then he had 0. He was from a very, very humble background. Very humble background. Very. And remember, at the time that I joined campus, there were all these young soldiers that had come in, that were happening, that had money, that were driving. That time there was a car called the Santana. Was it a Santana? Anyway, one of those Jeep-looking cars, offering things. And so my family was like, why are you with a guy who can't even, he wears the same shirt and same trouser every week on Sunday it's the same. He can't afford a different pair of clothes. And I was like, there is more to him than you see. I remember my family asking me, what will you eat? What will he feed you with? When we started wedding meetings, like, what does he have? I said, nothing. He has nothing, actually. So where are you going to stay? What will he feed you with? Right now, the story is different. So look for the gem in the person. Look for his heart. If he loves the Lord, if he's a hardworking man and not lazy. I don't like lazy people. It's not godly to be lazy. Okay? God works. So the man who comes after you, and my daughter has recently got married. So you can imagine the things I was telling her. Don't get married to a lazy man. He's going to break your back. Okay? He must be hardworking. He may have nothing now, but he can work. And you see that when he's busy doing other things. He walks into church and he's organizing tables, and Reverend is here trying to dust it, and he says, no, let me do it for you. You see the heart that goes after serving. They serve, okay? So those 4, in your mind, line them up and say, first of all, is this the time for me? Am I ready to get into a covenant relationship? Secondly, do I respect him? Don't get engaged with someone you don't respect, okay? And it shows in how you relate with him. You call him names, you say, you talk about him with your friends and you're degrading him. That command bores me stiff. Already that one is off the radar. If you're calling him a cowboy, a command, he's not among the 4. Okay? So there are many things we could talk about. I like the fact that Irene said, get counsel. These things that you're asking are not things we can fully respond to now, but get into a community of believers, get mentors. Reverend, I want to encourage you, create groups where these children, these young girls can relate and find help. Yeah, so in terms of time when you get married, there are some general times: work, finish school, and then begin looking to that, okay? Don't start now planning on a wedding now. You're going to stress yourself to bits, okay? Choice of men, I've given you just hints about the character, about his love, his spiritual walk with God. You have this brother you like so much, what do? It's good to like someone. It is. There's nothing wrong with that. But again, guard your heart. Guard your heart. Don't run after them like Irene, who came and poured. What was it? Soda. Give it time. Time tests things. Time tests things. We all get crushes. You crush over someone, I remember my daughter would crush and say, Mommy, this guy. Then a month later, she's like, I wonder what I saw about that guy, actually. I really want. So time tests things. Give it time. That crush you have over this person, give it time. Give it 6 months and see if you still feel the same way about him. You probably will have moved on. Okay, how do I handle anxiety and addiction? I want to recommend to this person to come and see us at the end, because this is not something you can respond to immediately. Anxiety and addiction are an indication that you have gone past the occasional thing. You're trying to stop something and you're failing. You need help. This is an indication you need help, and we're ready to help you. So please don't go back with the person who wrote this. Don't go back. Finally, okay, there's this one. How should one deal with a narcissistic husband? This is not a student. This is someone who is married. Again, this one needs counseling, okay? How do you deal with a narcissistic husband? You can come and we talk. This is not something that is yes and no. Thank you, Mrs. Magara, for the talk. It was very reminiscent of my time at Gayaza, the talks in chapel. Which house were you in? Hutchinson. Yes, that was my house in Gayaza. The clan. Oh, the one with the clan. I'm not a very traditional person. Really. Bishop, clans. Do you deal with clans? What I know is that if you're of the same clan, you don't get married. Yeah, if you're of the same clan. I went beyond the clan. I'm from the west. I married a guy from the east, so the clan thing never showed up. But I know that many tribes say you don't marry the same clan. Okay, so that I would give a general statement. If you need specifics, please come again and see any of us. We can point you in the right direction. Whatever we can't answer, we'll definitely point you in direction where you can get help, okay? Which one? The person online, I've asked her to give you my number and we can talk, okay? It's not a discussion we can have here. The one on the narcissistic husband, because they need specifics. Those are very general terms. You need specifics on how to respond. Okay.
Let's appreciate her. I think they are really doing a good job. I know our time is moving very fast. I thought I would wrap up, but let me just read these questions, then we wrap up. Okay? Let me just read all of them at once. One was asking, when you have someone whom you have loved so much, and you have already said yes, you have started a relationship with him, and after 5 months, you feel like you don't love him anymore. And you start feeling bad when you see him. What do you do? Another question is, do dreams matter in choosing a right partner for your destiny? Thank you for the great speakers. It was in my Form 6 when I happened to have a mentor, and he was a man. So time came for mentoring me. He wanted us to be in a relationship, of which I wasn't into. I didn't open up to him that I wasn't interested. But since he knew most about me, I knew his request was request was accepted. I tried to show him that I'm not interested, but he couldn't see that. He could not see that. What hurts me more, he has hopes in me, and he has proposed. But I have rejected. How can I handle him? Because I am not interested, and he fully has all hopes in me. I need help. Interesting. And then another one here is, how do you let go of someone, especially when you have gotten attached? And finally, I have a boyfriend I have known for 8 months now. He claims to be born again, but he is not. He can only he can only come to church when I talk about it. So at some point, I wanted to end it, but then, to be honest, I'm also not yet there. I can't say I'm a proud Christian, actually. At times, I feel like I may be more of a church goer than a Christian. When I think of stopping it, I feel like a hypocrite because I am also not yet there. Can I stop it? Or can we work at it, both of us? Interesting questions. These questions are more or less the same. There's one that they've just given to me here. I think that is it. Wow. You know, life is about relationships. Life is about relationships, and we know the most important relationship is our relationship with God. And I think this is vertical. If your vertical relationship with God is up there, then your horizontal relationships will improve. So the most important relationship we need to cultivate is your relationship with God. In my first response, I made it clear that while we were here, what saved some of us, we got hooked. We got hooked up in fellowship. We got committed to mission groups. We got committed into church activities. So please get into a church family and belong. And when you get into a church family and belong, you will be mentored. I think it is wrong to say that your close mentor is a man. Yes, I'm a pastor. I have mentored both. Now, me, I'm a priest. I mentor both boys and girls. But there are things I can't do for the boy. And so I will have to I do the journey with my husband. And it so happens that many times when you choose to have someone, I'll share my story. There's a guy who was studying with. I was married. And so we're in class, yes, and I'm still married, hallelujah. And we're in class, so the guy, I think when he saw me, he got obsessed. Yes, and discussing in the same group. And so every time we were discussing, he would get lost and he would just gaze at me. And so one day I asked him, what's wrong? And he's like, why didn't you wait for me? Why? And the guy is also married. Like, why? I've never seen such a lady like you. So what am I saying here? That even though you're married, there will be some who will look at you and get feelings, and especially if you're in class and close relationships. So how did it end? Of course, I had to rebuke this gentleman. I had to rebuke him. I mean, he was a friend, and I thought that we would be good friends with this gentleman, just like, classwork and discuss. But for him, he thought that, no, I cannot have another lady as a friend. So he took it further. And what did I do? By the way, he started stalking me. And in our discussion, I kept showing him my husband's picture, my children. I was like, don't bore me with that man who snatched you. I was like, oh, please. Yes. So he was that obsessed. So for me, I think it was the enemy trying me as well. And so you need to know first and foremost where your commitment is. Not even to my husband, not to their husband. Our commitment has to be first to God, and then to the man you have committed to, because there will be very many distractions. Yes, I had to rebuke the man, and the friendship died. I deleted his phone. I thought we were just group friends discussing together, but he was taking it on another direction. And so I had to delete his number. I had to delete his contacts, and up to now, we are no longer friends. Okay? And I had to be intentional. The challenge is that maybe married women and single ladies, yes, because life is about relationships. We shall have friends who are both boys and girls, or men and women. That is life. But the challenge is that when we connect with all people, either opposite sex, same sex, when you're cutting off that connection, many girls leave a pending address. You know what I mean? You have said no, but you're calling him at midnight. You say, I don't love you, but I miss you. So you're saying no, but at the other time you're saying yes. So let your no be a no. They will always, because men are called to be chasers and lions, and especially all of you are single, there is a man who is pursuing you, a young man who is pursuing you. Be focused. Let your yes be a yes, and don't waste someone's time. You've been in a relationship 2 months, you've said yes to this guy, and then all of a sudden you've eaten his cash, his Chicomando, his KFC, all those things you keep asking them, and then all of a sudden you're saying, I don't want. Really? I have come to find out there's nothing for free. You're going to pay for the Chicomando. The guy might find you somewhere walking and he will pounce on you and rape you. So you need to be serious. If you're not interested, don't give this guy a gray line. Don't leave a pending address. I have shared with some of you who have been for camp about my past experience with a guy who was 16 years older than me. Yes, and very rich. Yes, there was that guy when I was a student here. Just like that rich guy who came to you, and this guy was so rich, he felt like, this was the girl. He had been in the UK for about 15 years. He comes back and he finds this beautiful girl, and he says, I want to marry you. And because I wasn't advised, I said yes. I said yes to this guy. But every time he took me out, I wasn't happy. I would look at the young couples and I would feel sad. Like, now those ones can jump and wow. Now I'm with this one who's 16 years older than me. And I was a Christian, he wasn't a Christian. A student, for him, he was ready to marry. Actually, he wanted to come to my parents. He was that serious, he wanted to marry. By the way, he would take me to posh places, and I took his nice things. You know, he would take you shop, he would give you a blank check. I mean, he had the money. And you know, girls like those things. Have you heard? Auntie Lona told us that we need to look for hardworking men. That is true, but I'll add by saying we need to be hardworking women. There is nothing for free. Okay, there is nothing for free. Before John came to my life, he found me with a piece of land. Yes, I worked, saved, and so he didn't find me with nothing. So ask yourself, what is this guy finding you with? What are you going to contribute, or you're going to simply take away from him? Don't be a parasite. Be a contributor. There is nothing for free. So what did I do? Someone said, how can they break out from a relationship? What did I do? This guy was nice. And someone said that, they are not asking you for sex and everything. This guy was good. He wasn't asking me for sex. He was a good man. But I felt like he wasn't the right person. 16 years, born again, not born again. The Bible says, can light and darkness be mixed? Or what do we have in common with non-believers? Nothing. It was hard. The truth is that it was so hard for me to say no to this guy. He had the cash. Hallelujah. And he took me to those posh places. Actually, when I came to university, for me, I would see my friends going to Chikumi. I was like, how do people go to Chikumi? Did you have Chikumi in your days? Oh, you didn't? Oh, you go. Do you have Chikumi these days? So I would look at friends and say, you're going to Chikumi? No, because this guy, I would just call him. He would get things. Then it was Nando's and Steers. They were the posh things, places. But anyway, so he was that good, and he wasn't forceful. But in my spirit, I knew he was not the right person. But I didn't have the guts and the energy to tell him off. So what did I do? I declared a week of prayer and fasting. So, yes. I didn't know what to do. I didn't have anyone to help me. I declared a week of prayer and fasting. And let me tell you, it started on Monday. And I was like, I'm breaking my fast on Saturday. Get ready to meet him on what? Sunday. Sunday, I went, did service. And of course, he always used to take me out for lunch. But then this time, and when you've been fasting, you're really hungry. So he first took me to Sheraton. Come on, say Sheraton. We had a nice meal. And then Garden City was the new thing. He took me to Uchumi. He told me, pick whatever you want. Remember, I had my answer, So I picked everything. And then I was coming back to Africa Hall, so I told him, okay. And when a guy loves someone, they even don't want you to reach. Like Irene said, you escort him to Wandegea, and then he escorts you back to Africa. And so this guy was driving, but he didn't want